Hello, my name is Ryan Harp, and this is assignment number 4 for FTH 212. For today's assignment, it's going to be a stippling lab. So we're going to practice some stippling on this piece of plastic here, do a few shapes, practice some techniques. After we're confident in what we're doing, we're going to go ahead and stipple this AR-15 grip. Before we do that, we're going to have to remove the current stippling that's on there, the pattern that's on there. So what it's going to entail is going to be, we're going to have to create a plan, lay out the plan, cut the borders, and then perform the stippling action. We're going to use some tools today. So our safety, we don't have any firearms in the shop. Our safety is going to include proper PPE. So we're going to be wearing a mask for dust and fumes. Safety glasses, of course, is a must. We're going to be ensuring that we have no loose fitting clothing on, no rings or anything, because we're going to be using a Dremel tool, and we're also going to be using a heating element. So we're going to keep the area safe today while we're working. All right, so we have our basic patterns placed on here. I chose an oval, triangle, figure 8, circle, square, and a diamond. On this front side, I'm going to be trying to use this vinyl as a frame to hold my pattern, and then I'm going to try and freehand it on the back. So our next step is going to be to do the outlines. So we're going to try 2 methods. So the first method that I'm going to try is going to be using a Dremel tool, and we're going to use that on the side where we're going to use this with the vinyl as a stencil. Okay, so I just got done using the Dremel tool and using the wood burner to engrave my outlines of my shape. Now is going to be time to use the Dremel to sand and clean up, as well as some sandpaper and some files, whatever I need to do to kind of taper that edge into the outline of my shapes. Okay, so after using some sandpaper, some files, everything I could to try and smooth out the edges on here, this is what I'm left with. So this is the side where I use the heat gun or the wood burner. Really don't like the finish, couldn't get it any better. I went all the way to 300 grit sandpaper trying to get that out. And this is the side where I use the Dremel tool. As you can see, especially on the square and the triangle, the lines are a lot more clean. So this is the side we're going to practice our stippling on. We tried to have some fun with the patterns. Admittedly, I'm not a big fan of stippling with a heat gun. I'd rather use my laser engraver. I was going to do that for today, but figuring out the settings right now has been hell. So I mixed it up, had some fun with it. Did a mix of a dot pattern and then a weird little gear. Did a dot pattern, then went over it all with a gear to give it some really raised, aggressive. And then right here, just took the heat gun, took it at about a 30-degree angle, and just made a bunch of dragon scale type texturing. The most aggressive pattern is going to be this complete, just like gear type pattern right here. It's gone over a couple of times, and it's just very aggressive, very bitey. So looking at something where you wouldn't want to lose your gun, I'd go with that right there, and that's probably what I'm going to do on the pistol grip. So we have our AR-15 pistol grip sanded, and then we have our base design for the pattern drawn on. We're going to go ahead and use the Dremel tool to cut our outline. We'll stand smooth, do all of that with it, and then we'll get into stippling our we have the borders cut and smoothed out running into them. The next step is going to be stippling, and what I'm going to do is going to use that gear stippling all over here, and then this little lightning bolt that I made in the middle, I'm gonna make a couple dot stippling. So we'll see when it's done. So this is gonna be the final product of part 2 of the assignment. So the grip is all stippled. See the completed pattern. Turned out very aggressive, just like I wanted. And then that was based off of trial and error from some of the things I tried on this. So now on to part 3, the process, articulation and reflection. So it says to describe the process I used to complete parts 1 and 2. So parts 1 and 2, I used a combination of Dremel tools to do the outline, the heat gun or the wood burning gun, and then a lot of sandpaper, files, just try and smooth everything out, get everything prepped for stippling. The prep work was honestly the longest part. So any difficulties that I encountered in this process, so I'm left-handed, so every cord that I have is over on the right side, as you can see from the outlet, so I'm dragging the cord across me. So trying to set up something else to keep the cords off my hand, that would definitely be a big plus. It's one of the big difficulties. That and controlling the Dremel tool, finding the right speed, and then finding the appropriate head that actually carves enough into the plastic with each pass, but doesn't overdo it. So those are some of the difficulties that I encountered. The actual process of stippling was very forgiving, and I mean very easy to follow along with. Obviously, this is the first attempt at it. Perfection is far from where I'm at, but that was it. So, and then what could I do to make the process smoother in the future? I'm not gonna lie to you, this is never gonna happen again. I don't like stippling. I don't like the finish that it leaves on there. You could tell that it's been burnt or melted, for lack of better terms. So, but if I have to do anything or say anything that I could do to make the process smoother in the future, it would be to use some type of CNC cutter or something like that to cut my layout pattern to put on there and trace. That would be the biggest thing that I could do to make it smoother in the future. All resources from this were from FTH 212 Module 4 lecture, the stippling portion specifically.